Hello, everybody. EJ Schultz here, news editor at Ad Age, and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in again to another live episode of Purpose Marketing Hits and Misses. We have another packed show for you all today. We're going to grade ads from McDonald's, IKEA, and others. And to help me do this, as usual, I want to welcome our guest, Thomas Kolster, who is the founder and creative director of Copenhagen-based Goodvertising agency, which advises companies and organizations on how to turn environmental, societal, and health risks into market opportunities.
Good to see you, EJ. It's almost like you can say that sentence without blinking right now.
I don't know, man. I still have to use my notes. You need to shorten it.
I know. I will for next episode.
I'm getting there though. But thanks again for joining us, Thomas. So we're going to be looking at 6 ads again today, like we normally do. And the way we do this, for folks who haven't watched before, we will show you the work. We'll come back on screen. You're going to give your grade. But what makes this show work is if folks watching can weigh in the comment section, ask questions, give your own opinions. We're welcome any opinions. Feel free to disagree with us, and we'll work you guys into the conversation as well. So please do that. And let's just get started. You ready?
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what people say.
All right. So our first ad comes from UK-based health store chain Holland & Barrett, which has body parts do the singing in this ad from Lucky Generals. It is called Your Body.
You got to show me love.
I'm tired of giving my love and getting nowhere.
Please come around for me, baby.
Actions flew out of the world.
Come with your heart in your hands, because my love is guaranteed.
So baby, if you want me,
you got to show me love.
Words are so easy to say. You got to show me love.
So before I get your opinion, I just want to quickly read what the brand said about this ad on Instagram. It said, quote, "Too often we wait until something feels wrong, but our bodies are talking to us all the time. The dip in energy, the poor sleep, the stress. The challenge is learning to listen and act sooner." So does this ad get that point across to you, Thomas?
I mean, I love it. It's vitamins, it's supplements, but it just makes so much logic. It's fun, it's feature focused, the way they apply the music. And also, by the end of the day, what this specific brand is promising you is obviously bag your body. And I think they deliver that sort of purpose and encouragement in a way that just pulls me in. So I absolutely love it.
So I'm in the US. This is not a brand that is here. So maybe I was sort of disadvantaged that way. My question though, was there enough product in this ad? Like, do you know, or was that, should there have been more product to kind of make the connection between this and what they sell?
To be honest, I mean, being a Dane, I'm not super familiar with the brand either, so I wouldn't really know how recognized it is in the UK. But I would think that this would be quite a well-established brand since they take this not product-focused approach. But nonetheless, I get quite curious anyways when I see this.
Okay. And breaking through the clutter is, of course, half the battle these days. So well done on that front. And I looked up the song, and it's very recognizable. I think it originally came back out in 1993. So, folks out there watching, feel free to weigh in on that one, and we can even come back to your comments, but we're going to keep the show going. So next up is IKEA. They've been featured before on this show, and this time we're going to look at an ad that ran in Saudi Arabia around World Health Day. The agency is FP7 McCann, and let's just take a watch. IKEA as a fitness club. Are you buying this?
The Saudi Arabia's biggest fitness club, in fact, right? I'm quite curious to see what our audience thinks about this one. Do you know what IKEA is actually famous for, EJ? I mean, they're in my neighboring country. They're famous for breaking up couples. You cannot go into an IKEA store without going into an argument with your loved one, right? That always happens. I love the insight somehow, about the labyrinth-like feeling that you always have when you go into an IKEA. So I think in some ways that sort of resonated with me. And the whole idea about the course marketing aspect of supporting World Health Day, I think also is very sort of aligned with the premise. So maybe I was just a bit cynical when I looked at the ad. And the thing that I think bothered me the most was actually this idea about the bracelet, that you needed to put on this bracelet to sort of measure the steps. I kind of felt that was a little bit of an artificial gimmick in this whole thing. I mean, we got Apple, we got all these other things. So all in all, maybe I was a bit too cynical. I kind of like it, but I think it became a little bit too difficult with the little bracelet.
I'm going to extend your cynicism a step further and wonder if there's something in that bracelet that's going to track you once you leave IKEA. I'm going to use that data somehow.
And also, like, give us at least a little bit of motivation for going beyond the 4,000 steps as well, right? It was like a 10% discount. Couldn't have given us, like, maybe if it reads 5 or 6. So, I mean, all in all, I think the mechanics, is something about the mechanics that are interesting and aligned with the brand. I got to say that. I think they found that insight, but there's something that just doesn't add up. But I'm curious to see what folks out there think about it.
Yeah, please weigh in if you want. But we'll move on to our next piece of work, which is a much different tone. It is for the UK-based charitable organization Missing People. And the work is called Based on a True Story. The ad comes from BBH and Merman. And it begins in a writer's room depicting people discussing what appears to be ideas for a true crime series. This is a longer ad. It's about 4 minutes, so I'm only going to watch about the first minute and a half or so. But it's enough to give you a sense of what this is about. So let's roll this one.
Come on, guys. It's very late and we currently have no show. Oh, there must be a juicy story here somewhere.
Okay, I think I might have a story. It's actually really heartbreaking.
Great. Heartbreaking is great.
Well, it's about a young girl.
That's a good start.
Yeah. She gets up one morning, heads off to school, but she never turns up.
And then what?
No, that's it. Well, that's the point. It's a tragic story about an innocent kid that disappears.
It is tragic, but is it exciting?
Yeah, where's the plot? Well, she's walking around and roll credits.
Okay, here we go. White male, 60s. This case has a van that was mysteriously
Guys.
found.
Please, old people aren't sexy.
What have people got that's sexy?
Oh,
If you want sexy, you need a body. Dead bodies. Blood. Guts. If we're lucky. Stumbled upon by some poor sod walking his cockapoo.
Anything to add to that?
My second ex-wife had a cockapoo. Went missing one day. Whole village went out and looked for it.
Where was it?
Colin Kibble's car. Yeah, that's how I found out she was having an affair.
Do we want to go home tonight?
Yes, please.
Well, then find me some harrowing stories.
Okay, this is interesting. A young black teenage boy, whole life ahead of him. He smokes a bit of weed.
Audiences won't sympathise with a druggy gang member.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody said he was in a gang.
No, but I think he said that.
So that goes on for a while, and then we're going to also show the outdoor campaign that ran in conjunction with this. And I just want to read a quote. Actually, this was in Campaign magazine. Just give you a sense of sort of the organization's point of view on this ad. Ross Miller, who is the chief executive of Missing People, told Campaign that the vast majority of the public and media are supportive and want to help. However, When speculation becomes intrusive or personal, this can add significant pressure to families at a time when they are already going through the toughest moment in their lives. In some situations, that stigma can also make it harder for a missing person to want to reach out. So clearly this ad is playing into the sort of like entertainment aspect of these kind of missing people. And we all know certain cases get more attention than others. Is this an effective approach, Thomas?
It's so interesting, right? Because missing people have been one of those sort of things that everybody in Adland loves to do something about. I think we've seen so many ads around missing people over the years. I somehow just fell in love with this piece of work. It's kind of like almost going into the TV series Slow Horses with Gary Oldman, right? And I think what captivates me about this is the true insight that it just goes directly on that, and that seems to kind of resonate and maybe hopefully gain some attention and conversation around this topic in the UK. So I think it's quite a novel and interesting approach, and even applying like the long format combined with Out of Home, I think could be quite an effective way of doing something about it. So in a category that has been quite overdone, I think at least they bring something new to the table.
Yeah, be curious to see what our viewers think about this one as well. But we can move on to the next one. It's for
the UK are famous for the crime shows, right? Let's be honest about it. So there's something there that also sort of just connects. I kind of, when I watch the longer format thing, and I'm curious to hear what people are thinking about it, but it is quite entertaining in this sort of sarcastic British way. So there's something they get right.
So the next ad is for a beverage brand, Tuborg, and it comes from Ogilvy APAC, and it attempts to address the societal pressures that young people deal with. Let's watch this one.
You have to have a plan, make a lot of money. You have to hustle, find love, be authentic, no, be perfect. Or maybe you don't.
So I know you have your opinion on this one, but my take is yet another sort of one of these, right? It's become this trope of like how young people can reject what's around them kind of thing, right? It's been done a million times, I feel like, but maybe you like it. I don't know. What do you think, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what people are thinking as well about this one. We in our last episode had an ad from Bacardi also looking at their new global sort of purpose platform, and I think this is a new platform as well for Tuborg. In some ways, it bothers me that we're talking about attention in young people's lives, and obviously I don't want to discredit that tension. I think that's very real, that young people want to fit in, and I think those tensions can be magic in great purposeful work, because by the end of the day, when great purposeful ads work, it's because they sort of touch us emotionally. They hit the little beating heart. And so I think in some ways it's a missed opportunity, because if we take one of the sort of purpose heroes, Dove, which are also dealing with a human tension around beauty, the sense that most women don't actually feel beautiful, and how can you give them the confidence to feel more beautiful? It's backed up by science. They keep creating ads that seem authentic around this sort of human tension. And lastly, which to my knowledge, at least Tuborg doesn't talk about as well, is some tools, because Elta just ends up with advertising. I mean, one of the things that Dove have done over a substantial period of time is giving young women the tools to become more confident. They have a self-esteem fund, they invest in it. So what I don't like about this work, which I didn't like in Bacardi's instance, and I don't like with Tuborg here, is that it becomes too marketing. It doesn't feel authentic. And in that sense, I feel Tuborg would probably gain more from avoiding going into this type of conversation, because I do think that young people expect a lot from brands when it comes to delivering on some of these claims.
Yeah, what is the connection to the brand in this one? I think, are they, I mean, they're owned by Carlsberg. Was the ad promoting a water that they have, I think, or what was?
I do think there might be a product connection to that, but as far as I understand it, this is a new global platform from Tuborg talking to young people in general. And so that's also why I feel, yes, I can recognize there is a tension. You know, we can discuss whether it's a original tension in young people's life, but I think it's not being delivered on by Tuborg here, and I think that's the mistake. You know,
I think we see a lot of beverage brands. They feel they have a license to get into this because beverages are inherently social, and so that's what sort of lets them into these kind of conversations. I think.
Yeah, and it's such a shame, right? Because where this work really over delivers is when you get to touch those emotional heartstrings, because that is the sort of pathway, the highway to effective advertising. And so actually touching on something that means something to people. I mean, to this day, there's some of the work from Dove that I can watch it, and I can like there's still a little tear coming out in my eyes when I see it. It's highly emotional, like always, like a girl in some of this stuff. And I think this is where these brands go wrong, whether it's a Bacardi or whether it's a Tuborg, that they miss that opportunity to really touch something that feels authentic, and also where the brand actually invests in increasing confidence, in increasing, in Bacardi's instance, the abilities for people to go and feel more free, or in this instance, for young people not to feel that they don't really fit in. I think there's a lot of work that could be done for brands in this context, especially in a beer category that is very, very competitive. I think there's a big opportunity there to stand out, to differentiate, and actually create a meaningful difference in people's lives.
Before we move on, we had a few folks weighing in on the IKEA ad, so I want to get to that. This comes from Patrick. He disagrees with you, Thomas. He says, I absolutely love this idea from IKEA. It would be amazing if they turned the in-store experience into something fun and interactive for families and customers. That's kind of an interesting idea too. Yeah, you could have extended this idea, maybe an obstacle course in the store or something, right?
Yeah, exactly, Patrick. I think I don't think we disagree that much. In fact, I think the potential of the idea is there. It could be a treasure hunt, you know, try and find a Billy bookshelf in aisle 5. I mean, that would be fun. So the core of the idea is there. I just think it kind of ends up in what I unfortunately see quite a bit, especially in advertising and award shows, is that there's a tech gimmick that doesn't really deliver what it's supposed to.
So then, though, we did have someone kind of disagreeing with that. Joanna on IKEA said, I just don't know that the IKEA ad purpose actually has much to do with the brand purpose. That's a good point, too, right? There's nothing right in the DNA of IKEA, unless I'm missing it, that's about fitness, right?
No, that's true, and I think it is that dilemma always, that when do a brand needs to stay in their lane, and when can they sometimes do something outside that clear lane that IKEA operates in. I would say though that IKEA has a very long history of course marketing and supporting UNICEF and other causes, and I do feel that, for what it's worth, when we have these types of days, whether it's Earth Day or World Health Day, I think that sometimes gives brands the permission to speak. But I do agree with Joanna. If I was sitting there with the CMO of IKEA, I would probably also stay closer to the purpose lane in this instance.
But it is sort of connected in the sense that it's an experience, a common experience, right? Walking through IKEA stores.
Yeah, I buy into the premise, the labyrinth. I think we've all been there, right? We've all gotten lost, and so in that sense, I think sometimes what can work without us sometimes, going too far on purpose is if you have a fun little product idea, yeah, why not do it? It doesn't seem foreign for me for IKEA to do something like this.
All right. We'll move away from Europe and to Canada for our next ad. this one ran on Earth Day in Canada. Actually, is by the organization, the government organization that is in charge of Earth Day in Canada. The agency was Hula Hoop, and this spot tackles overconsumption. Let's take a watch.
Why do we make impulsive online purchases?
Perspective of a purchase will activate a dopamine release, a molecule of pleasure. But the effect is very short term, so we'll want to do it again.
This vicious cycle fuels overconsumption and contributes to climate disruption. That's why Earth Day Canada is launching La Boutique Imaginaire, the first online store that sells air to breathe life back into the planet. Order whatever you want, just for fun, and get a real dopamine fix. Visit Imaginaire.ca.
All right, Thomas, fire away.
Yeah, can you believe Earth Day was in April, right? And it's actually, to be honest, a US invention in some ways. So all the way back to the 1970s, on the back of an oil spill. That's where Earth Day sort of started. And interesting to see now that it almost seems like the US is moving away from that early commitment in the 1970s. But first up, I do like what they're trying to tackle, overconsumption. I mean, let's be real. In the sort of global north, I think a primary part of the challenge around environmental the footprint, whether it's carbon emission, etc., is basically that we just buy too much stuff, and I think that's a really good thing to begin tackling. What bothered me a little bit was the premise around doing something that's kind of fake, so a fake store that doesn't really deliver on anything. And so especially when it's things that really do matter. And so I think there's so many other things they could have done. I mean, there was some years ago, Grand Prix winner from a clothing brand called Carling. And what those guys did was they had a powerful insight saying that a lot of people today basically buy clothes to show off on Instagram or TikTok. So what Carling did was actually they created these digital skins that you could buy, so clothing that you could add to your Instagram or TikTok, which I thought would have been quite a bit more a clever solution to what these guys are trying to do. So I don't like the fakeness around it. Undoubtedly, probably it's a good conversation starter and something that the press could pick up.
I want to broaden this one out for a minute because I do feel like we've seen a lot of ads recently around overconsumption. But when we're talking about advertising as an industry, it's the whole purpose is to sell things, right? Yeah. So, I mean, this is different. It's a government organization, but like any advice to like for a brand, like we've seen some stuff that I think has been good. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but like if you're a brand that wants to get into this topic, like how do you go about it?
I mean, we can refer back to one of the earlier episodes, right, where we had Vinted, which is basically a reselling platform, and I think they did it so well because what they sort of said was, we all got a lot of stuff lying around. I mean, why do we don't need 6 hats and 50 pairs of jackets and so starting from that, then saying, but actually what you can do right now, which is very easy for you, upload it on Vinted and make money from it. And so I think one of the challenges around this stuff is the guilt tripping. If you don't give people a solution, if you don't give people a way out of this, it doesn't really seem that constructive. And I think that is one of the key things we have talked about quite a bit in this space is whether it's smoking cigarettes, whether it's guilt tripping people on climate or eating meat. It doesn't seem to be the best way to engage people and get them to change behaviors. So rather meet them eye to eye and say, I do understand that you feel guilty about overconsumption. Here you can do X, Y, Z. And I think that's the missed opportunity in this ad as well.
Something else, I'm actually going to plug a story we have on Ad Age today. We worked with Morning Consult, did a survey on like what attributes Gen Z likes in products, and one of them is the highest ranking attribute is quality. And some people we talked to for the story noted that brands that products that are so long lasting that they can be resold, it really hits that quality kind of note. So that is a way to kind of lean into this topic, I think, by also serving a commercial goal, which is to like promote yourself as having quality.
I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. Like
Patagonia does a good job of this.
They do, and I think if you look at the skill set that we have, I think it's probably decimating our role as an industry to say that it's just about selling. I mean, what I'm passionate about is really brand building and meaningful brand building. And if you, for example, have a car brand like Volkswagen that sells as a premium, you know that the reselling value of a Volkswagen is still there. And we see the same with a lot of luxury goods. So I think that is really the silver lining for a lot of this stuff, is that if you get this right, and I think actually this is where sustainability really comes into play, because sustainability has become one of those product features that actually increases a sense of quality, whether it's ingredients or whatever it might be. So I think that's really a good opportunity for advertisers to look at that.
I did. Folks really want to talk about IKEA. I want to go back to that one for a second. We have a comment from Heine who says, I loved IKEA's self-irony. Having to walk their maze is actually turned into something useful. I'm going to get, we're not going to be able to take a poll, but I get the feeling our audience liked IKEA more than you, Thomas. Sorry to tell you.
You know what, as I said, I was a bit cynical when I was reviewing it. I completely agree with buying into that maze feeling. And I think that actually touches on why some of this stuff works, because it emotionally connects with us. So they actually found a really amazing insight that they could have turned into something much more effective. So yeah, I'm just happy to see that the audience are coming up with a lot of ideas. I don't always have the answer, and I think there's a lot more mileage in this little insight than maybe this ad has shown us so far.
So we're going to finish up with another big brand, one of the biggest brands in the world, McDonald's. This comes from Turkey, and it's from TBWA Istanbul, and it addresses the dangers of driver fatigue. And it was timed with the end of Ramadan, where that is a potentially dangerous situation with so many folks kind of getting out on the road. Let's take a watch. I won't talk about it anymore. Let's just watch it.
Trafik yoğunluğu nasıl? İstanbullular dün gece saatleri itibarıyla yola çıkmaya başladılar.
Bayram trafiği dün itibariyle başladı.
Bayram trafiğine çıkanlar dikkat, uzmanlar uyarıyor. Yorgunluk hissettiğiniz anda direksiyonun başından mutlaka ama mutlaka kalkın.
McDonald's'ın Yola Kahvenle Çık projesi de farkındalık açısından çok anlamlı olmuş. Gerçekten çok iyi düşünmüşler. Mesela bu ilanda Türkiye'nin en tehlikeli rotalarından biri olan Mersin-Alanya yolundan bahsedilmiş.
Uzun yolculuklarda 2-2,5 saatte bir mutlaka mola verin. Bu arada bir şeyden bahsetmek istiyorum. McDonald's Türkiye bayram yolculuklarında sürüş güvenliğine dikkat çekmek için bir kampanya başlattı.
So we've seen the Golden Arches turned into many things over the years, but maybe the first time I've seen it this way. What do you think?
Exactly, and I think this sort of follows nicely up on our conversation around sort of brand campaigns, which is typically the sort of purpose space that we've seen with Tuborg, and then something that's just much more tactical and much more product focused. And I think in this incident, what I really loved about this ad was it didn't really pretend to be anything big. It was just saying, you know, we got a coffee. Play a little bit around the sort of don't drink and drive and say, you know, go drink and drive, using the iconic yellow arches and making it feel very McDonald's. So I think in that sense, this campaign it did hit the mark for me, and also, at least to my knowledge, McDonald's in Turkey don't sell alcohol. So I think that's also make it more believable in this instance. Did it have an amazing effect on getting less people to drink and drive or stay awake on the road or whatever? I don't know, but I do like the way that they take a sales campaign and make it into something more that people want to discuss. And I think that's the whole point about some of these things, that most people wouldn't pick up and discuss an ad for McCoffee. But in this instance, they take a bigger societal issue and create conversations around it. And I think this is really where some of these sustainability topics can come into play and be a very effective marketing driver for brands, even on tactical campaigns.
I'm wondering, I don't know how regulated Turkey is when it comes to advertising. I'm wondering if this would fly in some other markets. Like, could you actually suggest coffee can be used in this way? Because obviously the antidote to fatigue is getting sleep. Does it? I don't have the expertise to know if like coffee is actually, I mean, obviously get the jolt right away, but is this like really healthy long term? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm wondering if other markets, maybe the UK, I think is pretty heavily regulated. Something.
Yeah, to begin with, I was actually thinking the same, whether or not this is the perfect remedy, or actually it's in some ways leading to more traffic accidents if you go down the coffee route too far. But again, I think in some ways I do accept still the premise that it is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way of doing it, and especially the way that they have written the copy. So I don't think they take themselves too serious on this if they've gone down the sort of doctor route, etc. So even though the case video just insinuates a little bit that possibly this could have an effect on fatality or accidents in general, I still do buy into the premise. But you're right, would this fly in other markets? Possibly.
Sharon points out that not all of them are open 24/7. That could be a problem. And Heine says, I was impressed with the McDonald's concept that tied it into the end of Ramadan and was generally looking out for its customers. So he took away some empathy there, which is always a good thing for a brand to be identified with, right?
Absolutely. And again, I mean, I don't really doubt that, and I often are quite critical about those statistics at the end of those case videos, but I could actually see this giving an uptick in sales. And I think that's also something I always want to remind people of, that, you know, when you do this stuff well, you know, it drives brand love, and it can create quite an uptick in sales. And, you know, just to quote the Dove stuff that we talked about before, I mean, when they started the journey, I think they were about a $1 billion US dollar brand, and 10, 15 years later, they're at about 7 or 8 billion US dollars. So I think when you do purpose well, it just sort of drives market shares, drives brand love, and you can use it tactical, and you can use it on a brand campaign. So I think we've seen that today. Great.
I feel like that's a great place to leave it today. Thanks again for your time, Thomas.
And we'll see if you remember the sentence next time.
I'm going to spend the next month memorizing it. So we will be back again. We're trying to do these the first week of the month, so we'll do one more episode before Cannes. you can look for us, around the early June, and we'll make sure we promote when we're doing this on Ad Age and on LinkedIn. So stay tuned. We'll give you the date. Hopefully, tune in, spread the word. We love to see our audience grow, and we love all the audience participation today and every time. So thank you all for viewing. We're going to post all these ads in their entirety on adage.com in the coming days. We'll recap some of Thomas's synopsis on them. So look for that. And we'll see you again in another few weeks. Thanks again, everyone.